Nah, you should be good. Hey, everybody. We are coming in. I'm actually just going to invite a few friends while we get started. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Joy from New, what is it, St. Louis. Wendy Hicks, Ms. Lockhart, Joshua Raby, where are you? Like I said, we're just going to invite a few friends. We have gubernatorial candidate James Fields. Interesting guy, interesting young fellow. We actually grew up in some parts of the same city here, and we'll get into that. And let's see. Try to invite about 100 friends to get on here with us real quick. Get your questions ready. He's interested in knowing what you have to ask, and he'll give you what he has to offer. Also, check us out on Not Necessarily Political with James Williams, Lonnie Malone. Subscribe and share on YouTube at Not Necessarily Political with James Williams, Lonnie Malone. Get in our group where you can ask the questions, because they are going to be at the first ever gubernatorial candidate forum and at the Crossplex in Birmingham on February 19th at 6:30. So make sure you come, especially the 2018 candidates. You should definitely be there, getting to know other candidates, other elected officials. And we're waiting on James Williams. He's going to be more of a producer today, but he'll still be able to ask questions, so you'll hear the voice still with the visionary. You got the voice and the visionary, and today the visionary is actually going to be asking the question. So I invite a couple of more people. We're excited, y'all. I've been doing my research on this candidate, and I'm very pleased at what I've been finding out. So today he's going to be doing more of the talking, because he has a lot to offer. And you know, the sole purpose of this is voter education, restoration, and get the people who does the hesitation. Well, they want to vote, but they can't decide. So we're trying to give y'all all the information that we can give you. And I think I'm at 100. I think I've did around 100 people. We'll just go from there. You ready, James?
Almost. 2 seconds.
And I'm going to turn the camera around. Like I said, I'm just trying to invite a couple of people over. I'm going to turn the camera around in a second, and you're going to see other people beside me. Java Lewis said, good afternoon, fellas. Mayor Whiffen is watching. Dylan Sanders, Johnny Scott. Johnny, we still got to get together. Pamela, Java, Natasha.
The man said I'm high.
Josh is actually in pain. Okay, get real, brother. We understand. J.K. Foster from Chicago is watching. So, I'm proudly endorsed James Fields for governor. That's what Josh Raby said. Jasmine Sanders said hello. Gwendolyn Wells, thank you for coming in. Again, for those that are just joining us, we're interviewing gubernatorial candidate James Fields. James Williams is actually doing more of the producing today, so he'll pop in and out. But I'm going to turn it around to him, and let's see.
Oh, you want to see me in action now?
See James Williams right there, ladies and gentlemen, just so I know everybody look for the voice.
He's here.
And we have, what is that? Can we see? There we go. Can they see? I got the mics. I'm sorry. We're up at the studio today. And we got the mics. I think we'll get you still.
Okay.
There we go. We get it down there. I see you.
How do I need to pull this mic over?
You can pull that mic over, let you hear.
Why is that not tight now? I don't understand that. Like a strip, I think, or something. It's already tight. Right?
Go ahead and talk to him.
Yeah. It's tight. Oh, it's tight.
There we go. Yeah, y'all probably strip.
Probably stripped down.
But you put your
Yeah, I'll hold
right,
it. Yeah. Well, either way, I guess.
and you can just hold it with your hand right there.
Yeah, that's what I do. Because it's stripped in.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. All right.
I don't have
Go
my
ahead,
gas
brother.
that much.
I'll get you in 5 seconds here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll do it this way.
Give us a few more seconds. Get started. See if we got any questions, right? Nice to meet the future governor. Heath Boalco has joined. Nicole Emmett, Brenda Hope. Let me know when you're ready. Well, we can go.
I'm just going to start. When we start on this one, we're going to be actually taping for the show. So y'all can go ahead. Once we do that, I'll cue you in. Then
That'll
start the
work.
tape situation. And then I'm going to hit the mic.
And get your questions ready. Like I said, get your questions ready. We're ready.
That's just our little favorite live.
Yeah, this all live right here.
Just to play around.
Walt Wilson is
Let them
doing.
know it's in real life. Real
But
time.
yeah, it is real. Like,
Real time.
hey.
Real time. They know how we do it.
So,
But this side is going to the podcast because we do a podcast, which will be on YouTube, and you'll get a chance to see that. But it will be an actual interview. You'll see the interview itself, not this side, but just the interview side.
and again, it's really it's more of a conversation. Just
Yeah.
if you want to talk about your speaking points, that's fine. If you want to talk about when you were a child, whatever you decide, we'll go with you. Hopefully, you know, like I said, when you're talking about gas and ladies and gentlemen, as we was talking before this interview, he actually have something in common. He went to school in Gaston. You know, everybody know I'm from Gaston, Alabama. So hopefully we can get into that. That seemed like interesting. He actually knows my pastor here in Birmingham. So, you know, to say 6 degrees of separation, right? So it looked like it's going to be a great day. And let's introduce, well, we're trying to wait because our producer over here is
Right.
trying to get ready. And before we get started, you know, we always do the Facebook Live before the show actually starts. So give us a few more minutes. Get your questions ready. Josh Raby said, Carlene Fiss has joined.
Okay.
Move the other mic down. Okay. Let's see if we can move this one down. Can we move that one?
Down.
Yeah.
I was just going to get that view.
Yeah. So we can see. No, we still catching it. This one here that he's on. Can we move that one down right there?
Can you move the mic down?
We can't see. We can see him, but we see the mics.
Tell you, let me do this. How about that?
Yeah. Because I'm not
Sure.
going to be on camera, so that's perfect right there.
Cool.
'Cause we can see him great now.
Right. I'm going to have both of y'all on this side. So we can
Okay.
this side. I'm getting ready to go.
We're getting ready to start, ladies and gentlemen, and as soon as we go live,
Perfect. 3, 2, 1.
good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Not Necessarily Political with James Williams and Lonnie Malone. And today we have a special guest, gubernatorial candidate James Fields. And how you doing today, sir?
Doing well. Can't complain.
Can't
A little
complain.
tired, but, you know, that's part of the...
Tired. I
job.
like that. That means
Yeah.
you're working, huh?
That's exactly right.
Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself? Who is James Field, and why are you running for? That's it. Whatever you want to say.
First, thank you to the two of you for inviting us to be a part of this evening. My name is James Fields. It was named after my father. Middle initial C stands for Cleophas, and I go by James C. Fields Jr. when I'm signing documents and stuff. I was educated at Hansville High School. My first formative years, first through the sixth grade, of course, we had the only black school in Coleman County known as the Colony High School, Colony Trojans. And then in the middle 60s, integration came about, and they made a conscious decision to send all the black students to Hansville High School, which was right up the road. That's the only place we basically did business back then. And played a little sports, played basketball, played some football, ran some track. Wasn't a good baseball player. I never could get the glove to make connection with the ball when it was hit. I just sort of watch it roll by. I turned out to be a decent basketball player. Pretty fast on the track, and from there went off to college. 1973 to Gaston State Community College. The encouragement of the Dean of Students, Dean Robert Dobbs, the late Dean Robert Dobbs, who was a colonel in the Reserve Marine Corps, and just sort of stayed on track there. My first stint with politics, ran for the freshman class president of the school. And we won with $0. I was already poor, and when they asked me to run for freshman class president, I was trying to figure out now where are we going to get the money to do all this, to make cards. And there was a student who lived in the basement of the dorm. We had a basement floor, first, second, and third level. It was a co-ed type dorm, ladies on one side and men on the other. And he was an artist. And he drew up the designs for my cards and flyers, and we had a bunch of guys working for us from the Alabama School of Deaf and Blind.
Wow.
And people said, well, how did you get the blind students to put flyers on windshields? I said, we just walk down the road and they fill the windshield and they put it under the wiper, and we keep going.
Resourceful, huh?
And so, and we won that race against a young man who was very wealthy from the Sand Mountain area, and we beat him rather handedly. But we stayed in school, and thanks to my high school English teacher who helped us financially to get through college, and still in ways, she helps us in ways that is unimaginable. Encouragement, theologically, she helps us. And so, but I came from a great family, family of 7, 2 sisters and 4 brothers, and so we grew up pretty hard. Like any family back during the 50s and 60s, small farm. We did the chopping cotton, the picking cotton, the pulling corn, the picking peas, the growing of vegetables and gathering vegetables to take to the market and all that. So we did all those things, sleeping on feathered, what we call rake straw mattresses and pillows, gathering kindling and coal in the winter. But we moved from that, and our mother took care of us, and our father worked in the mines until I was about 7 years of age, and he provided for us, and then our mother started work. I think I was about maybe 14 when she first, she never driven an automobile, and we taught her how to drive, and she went to work at a local processing plant, a poultry processing plant, goldenrod broilers, and she helped provide for us, because when the mines shut down, my father sort of went into, I always called it somewhat a depression, to provide for the family. It was tough on him with all the children, and so mother sort of picked up the slack and took care of the family. I remember when he eventually went to work at the same plant on the cleanup crew. He would work from 6 at night to 6 in the morning, and of course she would leave home at 4 in the morning to catch her ride to work and make sure we had breakfast on the table, all that stuff.
But before you go, just in case you're just joining us, we have gubernatorial candidate James Field. Now go back. You said that your dad got into a deep depression. Yeah. Right. So did he ever come out, or? Oh yeah,
he came out. He started drinking pretty heavy, and like any man would probably do during that period of time. You having to pay bills, power bills, you're hiding from the insurance man or the power people who would come out and take your meters and stuff, or to collect. But we survived, and Daddy always made sure that his boys and his girls always had. We never went hungry. There was always plenty of food. One way or the other, we'd go rabbit hunting or possum hunting at night. And so that's how we survived. We had yard chickens, and so we made it.
So it's safe to say that you went through something. You've experienced life that.
Correct.
Yeah, so you understand the common man, that you can that you're relatable. So let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about your present life. Are you married now? Or you have family?
Yes.
What is this?
I'm married, a combined family. I lost my wife in 1998.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
She had a massive stroke, and the young lady I married, she lost her husband in '96 due to a heart attack, and so we are a combined family. We have.
So how did you meet? How did you meet your family?
We actually worked together. My wife is a career woman, very sharp, well educated. She's a manager of the Alabama Career Center here in Birmingham on 3rd Avenue South. Now, I think they moved to 4th Avenue South to their new facility. Yvette Moore Wright was her name, and now she's Yvette Moore Fields. But she's a UAB graduate, master's. John Carroll High School graduate, and we met when we both worked for the Department of Industrial Relations, which is now the Department of Labor. Mm-hmm. And we met some years ago. I remember when she lost her husband. We was with her when she lost her husband and supported her through that. Of course, my wife at that time was still living, and we was acquainted with Mrs. Wright at that time. And so years rocked on. In 1998, I lost my wife, and a couple of years later, somebody said I needed to meet Miss Wright, and then Mrs. Wright needed to meet Mr. Fields, and so we met and started dating. And a little birdie had told me, says, if I could get to her daughters, I can win her heart. And so I went to her daughters and played the father figure, and they fell in love with me, and they allowed me to marry their mother. And so together we have 18 grandchildren.
Do you know the names? No.
I know 3 of them. And a couple of them have the same name, so
that helps. Huh?
Yeah. And it sort of rhymes. Cortland, Kiani, Caden, Justin, Jalen, Chase. I got 2 Chases. Mel, which is short for Melanie. Tia. Did I say Cortland and Kilani?
Yep, first. Yep.
Yeah, those are the first 2. Those are my son's daughters. And my biological daughter doesn't have any children. She worries me to death. She takes all my money. She's daddy's girl. But
so you're a blessed man to have. Right?
I am. I am truly blessed. Our family has been blessed. Of course, I was able to retire from the state of Alabama Department of Industrial Relations. I was a fraud investigator, did unemployment fraud investigations. But the first few years that I worked with the Employment Service, helping people find jobs. And we enjoyed doing that. Worked with a lot of young kids, helping them in summer youth employment and then in school employment, because I'd always made God a promise that I would never allow another child to go through what I went through coming up. And if there was anything that I could do to help a child, I was going to do it and give it my best shot. And I still do that. I still believe in that philosophy. A lot of people say, well, that's probably why I'm a Democrat. And that's not saying that Republicans doesn't think the same way, but I just believe in inclusiveness. And I believe that every child is worth saving, and every individual is worth saving. And so that's part of my philosophy. So then I really enjoyed doing that and moved to the unemployment side and became a fraud investigator because my degree from college was in law enforcement and sociology, and I had spent a stint in the United States Marine Corps by the encouragement of my dean of students, and so we took an honorable discharge, did a 6-year contract with the Marine Corps, and so we started our career in 1978 with the state of Alabama, and then I ran for the state representative seat in Cullman, came available due to a special election. and people thought that I was crazy for running, and I thought I was crazy for running. I didn't want to run. I was encouraging the young man who was the chairman of the local Democrat Party. I was a treasurer. I enjoyed just dibble-dabbling in politics and just making sure that the local county party had money to do what it needed to do to take care of the people who were running for office, to help them out in their campaign. But they came to me one day and says, look, they've been doing some polling, and you're polling very high, and I encourage you to run. And I said, okay, well, we'll think about it. And, you know, coming from Cullman, 99.9% white, 98% Republican, and I'm running as a black Democrat. So,
Wow.
So the difficulty, of course, I've been in those odds before.
And you polled well in Coleman?
Oh, yeah. I won the race by 64%.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I won the Democrat primary by 64%, and then I won the general election against a Republican by 59% of the vote.
In Coleman?
In Cullman, yeah.
So why do you think your, since we're talking, what's your likability factor? Why do you think they're drawn to you to do something like that in Coleman? Because it's known, like you said, it's known to be a white district. So
Yeah, well, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
Okay? And so I've always prided myself on caring for someone before I'm asking someone for something and giving. And so what I think happened is all those years that I worked for the Employment Service in Cullman, 98% of the people that would come through that door would want to see James Fields, because they knew if they sit at my desk, whether I had a job for them or not, when they got up from the desk, they felt 100% better.
Okay.
Because we are to encourage one another, regardless of the circumstances. You could be going through anything, but if you could say something encouraging or lifting, and that's what I always did. And so, and those people remembered that. I remember when I would be out campaigning and somebody would say, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I'm saying, "You know, I really don't. You look familiar. You helped me get my first job. Or you helped my mother, or you helped my father find a job. You don't know where we were at that point, but you helped us, and you didn't have to."
Now, I was researching you like we normally do, getting ready for a show, and something just told me just stop. Which is weird, because I try to learn everything I can about a person just to be knowledgeable, to see if I can build some kind of rapport. But then I heard you came to Birmingham and you were at the Harvard Center, and you mapped out a plan as if you were already governor. Your plan is so strategic and so well written that you had a lot of people surprised that you, as a candidate, because it's real early, but you're already ready. If you walked into the seat tomorrow, you already have your plan ready. So what is your plans for economic growth and job creation? What's your strategy? What do you have?
One of the things that we looked at, and you're correct, we've been working on this for 5 months or longer, and we have a great group of people who were sitting down drafting and putting all these points together and how we're going to reach those goals. And one of the ways is that Alabama is rich. You know, it saddens my heart when I hear people talk about how poor education is, our system is, and we don't have any money for this, we don't have any money for that. But it was mighty strange that the governor came up with $3.5 million a couple of weeks back to help people find jobs. Where did we find the $3.5 million? They also came up with, and I'm so glad we got the automobile industry in the Limestone area. I think it's either Nissan or Toyota that's going to build that. Well, we lost the Volkswagen they were going to build in the same spot, but we lost Volkswagen, and we should have gotten Volkswagen.
Right.
Because Volkswagen would have been very, very important for our state. And I'm glad we got the industry, but we're paying $90,000 per job. That's 4,000 jobs that we're paying the state somewhere, either using our tax dollars or bond issue. Now, what if we had taken that $90,000, added $10,000 to it, $100,000,
Okay.
and invested it in small business entrepreneurs?
Right.
What if we did that? Because if you don't have small businesses in your community dies.
Exactly.
And everybody can't live in Huntsville. Everybody can't live in Birmingham. Everybody can't live in Montgomery. Everybody cannot live in Mobile.
Right.
And we definitely can't live on the beach.
Exactly.
So what happens to Clark County? What happens to Sumter County? We got good highway system, but we need a rail system. We need a commuter rail,
Exactly.
something that's going to move people from north to south, east to west. We are losing our young people because they're going to school here. They're going to Tuskegee University, engineering, one of the top engineering schools in the country. They're going to UAH or Alabama A&M, or they're going to Alabama Engineering School. We have NASA in North Alabama. But what about those other students who are not in the scientific world,
Right.
but they're computer wizards? Well, they're going to Nashville to work. And then they're moving to Nashville.
Exactly.
Or they're moving to Atlanta or just right outside of Atlanta. We could set up a commuter rail which would pay for itself. We could move people from Birmingham to Atlanta to work and move them back in the same day.
Exactly.
They don't have to get in the car and drive. They don't have to worry about buying gas. They don't have to worry about traffic. And it pays for itself. Not only that, it employs people
Right.
because it's manned 24 hours a day for safety, because we want to keep our citizens safe. And on top of that, we're keeping our young people in Alabama. They are spending their money in Alabama. It's the same thing with the lottery. There's no reason to be arguing about the lottery of how we're going to come up with a clean bill or how we're going to do this. We take the best of both worlds. If the people want to vote on it, they'll have a lottery bill to vote on. And it'll be clean. It won't be 20 pages long. It'll be so clean till they'll shake their heads. There's no way we can do this.
So are you for the lottery or are you against the lottery?
I'm for what the people want,
Gotcha.
because we become servants of the people. What saddens me is when, as politicians or as governmental officials or elected officials, we all of a sudden become the supervisors of the people that put us to work.
Right.
And we don't listen to them anymore. The lottery has been an issue, I know, since 2007 when I went in office in 2007. It was an issue in 2006, 2005, 2004. And everybody was playing games. You had this group and this group and this group and this group fighting one another, and nobody wanted to compromise. That's because you didn't have leadership sitting in the governor's chair, because there was either on one side or the other. In order for politics to work, and in order for a good government to work, you got to have compromise. You got to be able to reach across the aisle. And that was one of the strangest things when I became a state representative, was the fact that, number one, a lot of people didn't know I was black until I got to Montgomery, and they were in awe when I walked on the floor to be sworn in. The guy's actually black. Number two, coming from Coleman, I understand how people think. And so I was able to reach across the aisle when I served as a state legislator. I had a Republican representative on my left, a Democrat representative on my right. And I was voting the Republicans' machine. He'd say, James, just go ahead and vote for me because I know you're going to vote like I vote.
Really?
Because the issues were, we had the same issues in common.
Okay. So you're brave enough to vote across the aisle.
Yeah.
But you're smart enough to know that you need to vote the right way as well.
The right way. You could,
For the people.
for the people. My heart was broken when I learned of one of our representatives who turned his back on the people that he represented.
Yeah.
And in this, on the Republican side, you had both the executive branch to be an embarrassment. You had the judicial branch to be a terrible embarrassment. A man who's been removed from office once and then removed for the second time, and then sought the office of U.S. Senate. Then you had in the legislative branch an indictment and a conviction of the Speaker of the House. Then you turn around, and it was just not Republicans. We had Democrats as well involved. You cannot serve people being self-serving.
Right.
you must always, you must always serve the people. Every decision you make, is it going to be a right decision? Is it going to make everybody happy? No. But it's like a man walking on the seashore, throwing starfish back in the ocean. And a little kid walks up to him and says, "Sir, why do you keep doing that? It's too many of them. You can't save them all." He says, "No, I can't, but I made a difference in that one's life."
Exactly.
And so you're trying to get everybody back in the water. And there are just some people you're not going to be able to help. And so we believe that if we approach this whole thing by first looking at our education system, making sure that we are funding education properly, because I'm a public education man. I will not compromise that. I'm public education. I'm K through 12. I want pre-K to be funded, and we'll make sure money is there for pre-K. But you got to have some money coming in, and that's where your lottery, your educational lottery, will help. We need to get our heads out of the sand.
Now, on the educational lottery, though, the last one that brought across, they made it to where the top 20% students will get the majority of the money or somewhat. So will you strike that? Because Birmingham is not known to be in the top 20%, but they have some of the best
Right.
teachers and administration there. So how would you benefit the schools that are not considered the top 20? Will you balance it out to where everybody can get a piece of the pie equally, or at least benefit the most needy? Because if you're in $1 million home, you don't need a lottery.
That's correct.
Right? So what do you do? Just use Birmingham because we're here. What would you do for Birmingham?
First, I would make sure that Birmingham is a big part of it. I mean, every school is going to be treated the same. I don't care if I don't believe we have failing schools. I think we have failing communities.
And resources, I guess.
And so we need to make sure that all the resources are available to them. We need to make sure that what is the saying? A single tide lifts all boats. We need to lift everybody. Sure, there's going to be some that'll fall back through the cracks, but you try to seal those cracks as soon as you possibly can. You just can't brush them off. You just can't wave them off. Everybody is important, and there should be not one child who wants to continue their education should not have the ability to do it. And that's why we have dual enrollment now. We need to look at how we fund our community colleges and our universities, because universities get tuition. I love Nick Saban to death. I thank God for Alabama winning the national championship. But Alabama is bigger than football.
Yeah, I agree.
Alabama will lose if we don't invest in our children. From the child who lives on the far end of the road, because I sit on the electric cooperative board, we are just as much concerned by that old lady sitting at the end of the road, making sure that she has power, just like that guy sitting in the inner city of Coleman.
Exactly. So do you think a black man could be governor?
Yes.
Why, in this day and time, the way we have from top down, it's obviously what we're going through now, that he's racist, supposedly. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be as middle as I can, because I believe he is. Can you work as a black man, can you work with a president that has been called out?
Yes.
What would you do differently than Walt Maddox or Sue Bell Cobb or, I think, Countryman, if they became the Democratic governor? What would you do different? Why you, a black man from Coleman, Alabama?
Because this black man from Coleman, Alabama has the experience to do it. And I'm not saying that Sue Bell does not. She served as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. She served in circuit court positions. And I'm not saying that Walt Maddox was not. He's a 4-term mayor of Tuscaloosa. And Tuscaloosa went through a lot of things, especially during the tornado. But you got to remember, when that tornado came through, and you'll hear that a lot, it also came through Coleman, Alabama. And James Fields was out there with his white brothers and sisters with power saws, axes, rakes, working, actually working, not directing, working. And that's the difference. That's the difference in us and our leadership style. See, I got calluses on my hands. I got dirt under my fingernail. And when I walk into my pulpit on Sunday morning, I look at people whose homes are worth more than all the property that I own, children drive Lexuses and Mercedes, and I'm just driving a beat-up truck. But yet I'm delivering something to them that's going to save them.
And they're more valuable than money.
That's right. And so I know how to reach other folks. I know how to work with both black, white, Latinos. And you'll see that these people will be behind us. Now, you got to look at this past U.S. Senate race. Look at the demographics where the votes came from.
Yeah, exactly.
When I ran for lieutenant governor, and it always touches my heart when I tell the story, I was sitting at a barber shop in Forestdale over on Highway 78.
78. Mm-hmm.
There was a little kid about 9 years of age from Montevallo who was also sitting there with his mother and another little brother. And the little kid kept trying to get over to me, and his mother would slap his hand, make him sit back down, slap his hand, make him sit back down. So finally he made his way around and went to the bathroom, but he came right back out and sat down next to me. And he says, "Your name is James Fields, isn't it?"
Wow.
I said, "Yes." I said, "How'd you know that?" He said, "Our teacher's been talking about you in our classroom, and I want to be like you one day." That's a 9-year-old kid.
Wow.
You know, we heard a lot of Dr. King's speeches. We even read about Moses in the old Torah when God said, "Yeah, you got him here, but you're not going in. Joshua was going to take him in."
Right.
Dr. King made the same statement. Think about it.
May not get there. Yeah.
I may not get there with you, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I may not get there, but if not now, then when? And if it's not me, then who? Yeah. And so if we live by that adage, if we take that to heart and understand that the only way that we're going to be successful is that our children they've got to have somebody they can look up to. I'm not disparaging Walt Maddox. I'm not disparaging Sue Bell Cobb. Sue Bell Cobb is an old friend. Her husband is from Vinemont, which is just a few miles north of me in Coleman County. And his father was a postmaster in Coleman County. Okay, Bill Cobb, and his father was Buell Cobb. So I knew them from 100 years ago. I didn't know Sue Bell till later on. But and Mayor Maddox, fine guy, there's no doubt in my mind. But when I look at Tuscaloosa, when I go into Tuscaloosa, and I go into the heart of Tuscaloosa, and I see people suffering, everybody's not around the University of Alabama.
Exactly. You know, I heard it's, well, one thing I want to do, I'm trying to create a thing called positive politics, and people say, well, that's no such thing. But I think it is, because what you're doing, you're saying, to me, a vote does not have a color. In the true essence of America,
correct,
a vote does not have color. You are bringing saying that, yes, I'm a black man, but don't look at me as a governor, because I'm going to do what's right for the people.
That's right.
You know, people, when President Obama was in office, they were saying that he's not the president of the black people. So you're openly saying that we're not full Americans. He should have been held to a standard to what are you going to do for black people. And I say that. What are you going for this purpose? Because our audience is diversified. But we didn't get the chance to ask Doug Jones this. As a governor of Alabama, which is still a red state for the most part, what can you do for black people but not alienate everybody else? You understand what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, I understand.
What can you do for us?
Well, it's the story that I just shared with you.
Yeah.
With the young man.
Yeah.
That's what we will do.
Yeah.
They got to have an image that is positive, an image that is beyond reproach. Have I been squeaky clean all my life? No, I have not. Yeah. I've done some things in my life. I probably, if you ever attended college, you have your college days.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree.
And you have your childhood days. Where I was born and reared, there was always some moonshine in a stump somewhere in the woods.
Exactly.
And you'd stumble across it and you messed around and tasted it, or you roll up some rabbit tobacco, because Prince Albert, if you got some of that, your father would know it. So you got rabbit tobacco and you roll it up in an old brown paper bag. You tear it up and you roll up your little rabbit tobacco, and you found that moonshine, you sit around the woods. Those things are experiences as a child growing up. We all experience something. Everybody's going to experience something. You tell a child, don't do this, that child's going to do that. It's like, if you touch that stove, it's hot. Well, I'm going to touch it to make sure it's hot.
Exactly.
Because it's going to burn me, and I know that, but I want to get burned too. But so as a leader, you got to open yourself up to people. You cannot hide anything. You got to be totally exposed. And so that's what we will do, because there are folk out there who are looking for positive role models. I heard one of our athletes, who good guy, and made the statement, I'm not a role model.
Charles Barkley.
But you are.
Exactly.
You are. Kids want to be like you. They want to wear your jersey. Well, people want to be like, little kids want to be like James Fields. And that's what I'm hoping that will happen. And so then it's my background, where I was born and reared. I remember when I served as a legislator, I introduced 2 bills that dealt with sentencing reform. And when I introduced it the first time, I noticed something. There were families there, victim families, and the presumption was, or the assumption was, he's doing this because he's black and it's for all black kids that are in prison. Right? So we asked for a public hearing. You got to understand, I've been going into prison for a number of years doing Cairo's prison ministry, trying to reach young men and women. I was just at a parole hearing this past Tuesday, and a young man got paroled. Mother was just elated.
I can understand.
And I told her, I said, don't get shouting in here. Wait till we get outside and you can shout. And she was white. So in order for me to convince the Judiciary Committee of the legislature to get it out and up to the Senate, then to get it on the floor for debate, I knew what I had to do. So I came back, talked to all my friends, and we had a public hearing there in Montgomery at the State House in the basement. Big room. I walked in, they said, Fields, where are you people? I said, they'll be here in a minute. So I walked back down the hall, pointed down where everybody's standing, told them to come on down. And we filled the room with white people. And so the Judiciary Committee just all sat back like, what do we do?
Yeah.
You got to know how to change the dynamics.
You're strategic. You know how.
That's right.
Yeah,
because the bills were written by black inmates, white inmates, the warden, and officers in the correction facility.
Wow.
See, you don't do anything that would be that complicated without people who have knowledge of it. And we had victims' families help with the bill. And it was going to reduce the prison population only by 1.5% every year. The problem was that it came from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It came from us. And my opponent beat me over the head with that in court. He even brought a family in whose son had been killed by a drug dealer who was in that particular institution. And he got up, this older man got up, crying and snotting, and I stood up in the debate, and I said, sir, my opponent ought to be ashamed to make you relive such a tragic accident in your life that happened over 27 years ago. And here you are, 27 years later, reliving that because of his own folly. He's not fighting for your son. He's using you to convince people that he's a better candidate and Fields is trying to get guys out of prison. That's all he's doing.
So you will produce solutions, and you're not just going to say, yes, we have a crime problem. Well, what can we do about the crime? Because Birmingham has a crime issue right now, and around the states, and in other cities. We're no what I think I saw a list today. We were number 5, but you have you have solutions. So well, before we go any further, because time is running short, we don't want to hold you all day. Let's see if we have any questions. Identified so far. That's Java. You're a pastor. Okay. Well, one thing we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to remind you of the first ever Governors Forum. Not necessarily political, is bringing on a forum about the issues with the Democratic gubernatorial candidates, and that's going to be February the 19th at 6:30 p.m. at the Birmingham Crossplex. And all of the candidates so far have confirmed. We have James Field, Anthony White, we have Subel Kaz, we have Walt Maddox. And when we asked these candidates to come, they didn't hesitate. They want to get in front of you. They want to be involved. They want to show you that they care, that they have plans. As you can see, Mr. Fields here has mapped out a couple, but he actually has more. I'm telling you, when I heard about it, and when I got deep into it, it sounded like he was already there, like he was prepared for the seat. What can we do? What kind of questions do you want to ask them? It's free to the public. I think it's about a 400-seater, so we have enough room for you. It's at the Crossplex on February 12th. That's a Monday. I'm sorry. I'm ready for my birthday, ladies and gentlemen, on the 11th. February the 19th. But before we give it back to him, we're going to let him finish out the last few minutes and what he wants to say. But like us and share us at Not Necessarily Political with Jane Williams and Lonnie Malone on Facebook, and join the group, because you can ask your questions there and we can print them out and give it to them. And go to YouTube at Not Necessarily Political with James Williams and Lonnie Malone. And the website will be up very soon at Not Necessarily Political. And on Instagram, do Not Necessarily Political. On Twitter is Necessarily Not. And if you want to call or email us best at notnecessarypolitical@gmail.com. Questions if you want to be on the show. February is almost booked up, so we're getting ready to switch from politics for a little while. We're going into a series with the sheriffs about the crime. And as you can see today, I'm going to do a James Williams number. I got one of the things I'm working on this year. I promised you that I'm going to work on crime this year. And as you can see, it's called Ceasefire, where we're talking to the gangbangers, not gangbangers in Birmingham.
This way too, so we can see it.
Oh, we're going to put here, just doing a James. Let me stand up now. But we're going to go in there and talk about the guns. We want to talk to the active shooters. We want to talk to people who, like Mr. Fields said, he goes into prisons, getting valuable information. We're going to give them also solutions. What can you do? There are jobs out there. There are resources out there that they may not know. But nobody goes to speak to the generations that are doing this, the ages that are doing it. So you got all that information. Remember, February the 19th, the first gubernatorial debate, not necessarily a debate is what we're calling it. It's going to be at the Crossplex at 6:30. And we're going to give the last 5 minutes to Mr. Fields, and he close out how he wants to.
Again, thank you. Thank all of you for tuning in and listening and your responses. We do have a plan. We have an 11-point plan, and we believe it's a viable plan, one that can move Alabama forward, because we believe that family matters. We believe that the State House is your house and the governor's mansion is your mansion. And we believe that wholeheartedly. It's just not words rolling off the top of our mouth and rolling off our lips and tongues. We just truly believe that it is time that Alabama has some solid leadership, somebody that you can look up to, someone that can carry the load, someone that is used to carrying the load. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart is that we believe in Alabama. Alabama can be a red state, Alabama can be a blue state, but yet Alabama exists of people, human beings. People are of worth. And so we want to make sure that you have your voices heard. You did an outstanding job when you voted on December the 12th. And we can do better than that. We still have not reached our full potential. And that's one of the things that a Fields campaign will hopefully do, is to give you avenues to reach your full potential. We believe in reducing the recidivism rate. We believe in sentence reform. We believe that every court system that a person goes into, whether you go in a court system in Winston County or in Jefferson County, you should be treated the same, equally and fairly. No circuit judge should have any power other than what the people give them. And so we believe in that, in your district systems as well. And so what we're going to do is to make sure that when you are faced with any experience of that nature, that you'll be treated fairly. All of us are not rich, but all of us are not poor either. And James Fields believe in livable wages. When we talk about minimum wage, what may be a minimum wage for me in Coleman County may not be a livable wage for you in Mobile County. So we got to talk about livable wages, fair wages for both female and male. We must pay attention to the females in our country, in our state, in our cities, in our schools, because females have more knowledge than we think. And so they are a very valuable part of us. And so I just ask you to follow us, review our plans, check us out on James Fields, Google us. We'll have our webpage up by this time next week and start looking for billboards up and down the interstate, and you will see those. And so we're hoping that you will follow us. And we would love to be your governor. We need your votes. Please, just vote. June the 5th, 2018, please just go vote. If you think one of my opponents are better choice, then vote. I just need for you to go vote, because we got to make a difference. If we don't, then we got somebody sitting in Washington, D.C., folks, that don't have your best interests at heart. And so we need to think about this, and it is important that we go vote. Thank you so very much. Hope to see you in the future down the road. Come out on February the 19th and support us at the forum. God bless you. Have a good evening.
And before you go, could you give us one drop to where you say, I'm James Field and I'm not necessarily political?
Folks, I am James Fields, and I'm not political. What I am, I'm a man who believes in the dreams of every child in our state. I'm a person who believes in family values. That's who I am. If it's political, then so be it. But I'm not political. I believe in a better society.
Explain to him what that was. That was explain it to him.
What we're doing is we do a drop to where you're not necessarily political.
It's
you're
a tag
just
to the show.
It's a tag to the show.
Yeah.
So
that's all that was.
that's all that was. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for joining in. I want to make sure we don't have any questions I want to do. Susan White said, I love this proactivity. Java said, you got me so far, Mr. Fields. And I noticed that, if you notice that James Williams was not here today, he actually is. He is actually the producer today. Josh, our roving reporter, the one we fire every day, has back problems. So get well, Josh. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Still here, I was actually working today. Lonnie got it easy.
He's easy, yeah.
Lonnie got it easy.
But again, thank y'all for joining The Voice and The Visionary. Not necessarily political, with James Williams and Lonnie Malone.
What is it, next week? Sue Bell Cobb. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned in. We're going to work this way all the way up to the Governor's Forum. So
February the 4th, we have Anthony White, gubernatorial candidate. And I think on the 28th, I'm thinking Is it Christopher Countryman?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Chris Countryman.
So, ladies and gentlemen, February 19th is really important. They need your questions because we're gonna actually give them a chance to answer questions. We're not going to give them 30 seconds. They're going to have time enough to actually get in depth because you need to come in here. Today was more so of you getting to know Mr. Fields. Typically, you don't get to know the family portion or how they grew up. But when you get into the forum, you'll get to hear, like he told you, 11-point plan. That is impressive because that means his team got together and put the people first. So come and hear his 11-point plan. Come and meet them. No, Josh, I'm not putting you on camera. You should be here. But again, thank you all. February 19th, the first ever Gubernatorial Candidate Forum. It's called the Decision 2018, not necessarily a debate with not necessarily political, with James Williams and Lonnie Malone. And thank you for joining in. This is our first time back since the holidays, and we're going to move forward fast. And we're going to have the relationship series come up. We're going to have Stop the Violence series come up again with Ceasefire. And I'll be producing Pathway to Success, where I'm writing the plan up now to where I'm going to give solutions to every issue that's going on in the city of Birmingham. It may be a 1,000-page document, it may be 1 page, but I'm going to give solutions to every issue. I'm actually going around now talking to everybody I know. Hey, man, what do you think wrong with Birmingham? Okay, what's the solution? And we're writing it down. We're going to digitize the parks, where we're showing you that the parks can be more enjoyable. We're utilizing the libraries because the library has so many great potential things that they have there. So be looking out for it. But again, thanks, James Field, for coming out. And we'll see you all hopefully next Sunday with Sue Bell Cobbs. And then on the 19th, on February 4th, we'll see Anthony White. I'm sorry, James took my concentration.
Wow, you get nervous when I come around?
That's what it is.
Yeah. You know I'm going for him next week.
But again, thank you all for coming out.
Lonnie do good, y'all. He did good.
Hey.
He did good, man.
But great job for Mr. Fields. Really impressed. And we'll see. Oh, and I'm going to say this publicly. Whatever you need to come on the show, feel free.
Absolutely.
The thing about this that a lot of people don't know, we have not advertised yet. But this year we did that on purpose. We wanted to see what can we grow like just organically. Now we're getting ready to really publicize this, so we'll be actually advertising for everybody that come on the show because we're trying to get it to 100,000 views, 1 million views. So we want the people to know, and I'm impressed. I think you did a great job today, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you again. And hopefully this won't be the last time. So,
absolutely,
ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining in.